Good morning, students. Yesterday, we were discussing about use cases of cloud computing, isn't it? Yesterday, as part of that, we discussed some of the geoscience applications, isn't it? Then ECG analysis, that is healthcare example. Then what other things yesterday we discussed? Then satellite image processing application we saw. Then CRM and ERP applications we saw. Today, further we'll continue few more examples. So this is very popular. Just let us have a look at it. Microsoft Dynamics CRM. So it's a product of Microsoft, and just like Salesforce, now this is trending. Microsoft Dynamics CRM. So after Salesforce.com, the next most popular in the industry, and which is cloud-based application, that is Microsoft Dynamics CRM. And the advantage of this Microsoft Dynamics CRM is that so it can be highly customizable and customer specific functionalities can be added as well. Okay, so Microsoft Dynamics CRM is a solution implemented by Microsoft for customer relationship management. Dynamics CRM is available either for installation on the enterprises premises or as an online solution priced with a monthly per user subscription. That means like full-fledged version is also available, like by you one time purchase is also available, all for otherwise you can purchase it just like for subscription, monthly subscription, yearly subscription, or something like that. Then in case if you are subscribing, okay, it depends for how many users you are purchasing. Say for example, so your organization size is 100 employees and you assume you want at least some 15 members should use this Microsoft Dynamics CRM, then you need to purchase license for 15 users. The system is completely hosted in Microsoft's data center across the world and offers to customers a 99.9% service level agreement. That is SLA. SLA is they are telling that so the availability is 99.9%. So hence you can assume that the software is reliable with bonus credits in case of system does not fulfill the agreement. That means in case if the system doesn't meet the SLA, what they are quoting, that is 99.9% of availability, then they will give you additional bonus credit points so that you can extend your contract for few more days or few more months freely. Each CRM instance is deployed on a separate database, and the application provides users with facilities for marketing, sales, and advanced customer relationship management. So now actually you're getting some information about CRM. So apart from maintaining the information about the clients, what other things you can do? You can do marketing, sales, and advanced customer relationship management with CRM. Dynamic CRM online features can be accessed either through a web browser interface or programmatically by means of SOAP and RESTful web services. That means using by programmatically also you can by writing the program through the program you can access it, or by using the web browser interface. So if you are programming it, then you have to use SOAP and REST web services. You know, right? SOAP and REST are the APIs or the protocols which are used to communicate with web services. This allows Dynamics CRM to be easily integrated with both other Microsoft products and line of business applications. So, and another advantage is this CRM can be integrated with Microsoft based tools, other Microsoft based tools. And it is hosted in a remote data center using Microsoft Azure. Then Dynamics CRM can be extended by developing plugins that allow implementing specific behaviors triggered on the occurrence of given events. Dynamics CRM can also leverage the capability of Windows Azure for the development and integration of new features. See, now this is the actual advantage. So the actual advantage of Dynamics CRM is look at the last point. It can be extended by developing plugins. That means, say for example, you don't have some facility. So since your business will keep evolving, so you want to add new features. So that is possible. That means it is flexible enough to add new features. Then, while adding the new features, so you may be using the platform services available by Microsoft Azure. So what are the platform related services available by made available by Microsoft Azure that you can use? That is another advantage. So that it will provide you the SDK runtime support and required APIs and so on for APIs for integration. The dynamic CRM can also leverage the capability of Windows Azure. If you want to use as part of this CRM, if you want to avail some of the services of Windows Azure, that is also possible for both development and integration of new features. To develop new features, you can use Windows Azure. As I told you, it provides platform services. So it provides SDK tools and host runtime support, everything. So if you are not happy with the existing features of Dynamics CRM, you can add new features. And once again, to develop them, we can use Windows Azure or Microsoft Azure. Similarly, the NetSuite. And to increase the productivity applications replicate in the cloud some of the most common tasks that we are used to perform on our desktop, from document storage to office automation and complete desktop environment hosted in the cloud. Now let us see some of the applications, Dropbox and iCloud. Students, have you used Dropbox? Hello? Hello? Hello, I want the reply. Have you used Dropbox? Manisha, Pavitra? Hello? Neha? Devmalya Chatterjee? Hello? Hello?
Sir,
Can you?
Arjun, sir.
Yeah, Arjun.
Yeah, sir.
Yeah,
Sir,
tell me.
use it is same like web searches, sir.
Web search, Dropbox I'm talking about.
Yeah, sir.
Uh,
We can store images, everything
yeah, yeah,
in
yeah. Web store, what you told, web?
web store.
Okay, okay. Yeah, yeah.
Yes,
So
sir.
you can easily share the documents. Then you can synchronize the documents from anywhere using the interface. So you can install it in your laptop. That is called as the Dropbox client, just like how you can install Google Drive. That is called as the Google client, the Google Drive desktop client. Similarly, here also you can install desktop client, and the advantageous part is that you can install it on desktop, laptop, on mobile phone, and also on Mac operating system and Linux operating systems. So it supports for every platform. So that's the kind of portability. So it is architecture neutral, Dropbox. So that's the biggest advantage. You can share the documents from anywhere, provided that your system is empowered with internet. One of the core features of cloud computing is to believe anywhere, anytime, and from the internet connected device. So that is the advantage of Dropbox. Therefore, document storage constitutes a natural application for such technology. Online storage solutions are precedent to cloud computing, but they have never become popular. Okay, I don't agree with this point. Why? Because already Google Drive is very much popular, so that we use for storage of documents online using the cloud services. With the development of cloud technologies, they have turned into software as a service applications and become more usable as well as more advanced and accessible. So more advanced in the sense, as I told, so it supports every platform, let it be Macintosh, Linux or Windows. So that is one kind of portability. And another thing is that synchronization. So synchronization means, say for example, you have installed Dropbox client in your desktop, and now you are storing some document inside it. Now let us assume your system is not at all connected to network. The moment you get connect to your internet, automatically that document gets synchronized in the remote server. So therefore, even without your knowledge, if you put that document in your desktop client, automatically it will get synchronized. So if it gets connected to the internet, that's the biggest advantage. Dropbox provides users with a free amount of storage that is accessible through the abstraction of a folder. So through the abstraction of a folder, you can access that Dropbox, and it will provide you the free account just like the Google Drive. Users can either access their Dropbox folder through a browser or by downloading and installing a Dropbox client. So once again, the similar concept of Google Drive, which provides access to online storage by means of a special folder. All the modifications into this folder are silently synced so that the changes are notified to all the local instances of the Dropbox folder across all the devices. Say for example, you have stored that document in 2-3 places by installing Dropbox client. Then, so once the system in which you are making modification gets connected to internet, it will sync so that it can intimate those changes to all the places where you have stored your document. That is called integration, isn't it? So when you do some modifications and it is applying the changes in where and all the document is stored, including its remote server. The key advantage of Dropbox is its availability on different platforms: Windows, Macintosh, Linux, and even mobile platforms. So it is available for mobiles also. Irrespective of the type of operating system that you have in your mobile, it supports all the mobile platforms. Then next thing is iCloud. Friends, anyone using iPhone? Hello? Anyone of you is using iPhone? Hello?
Sir, currently I'm not using, but I used iCloud, sir.
Yeah. So what is its
Yeah,
its
sir.
functionality?
Sir, it will store everything. Like if you have Apple ID, whatever the images and the contact numbers and notes you stored in your Apple ID or phone, if you click on button like upload to cloud, everything will be stored. Even yesterday night, I checked my cloud data in Apple. Everything will be stored, sir. Images and
Yes.
notes, everything.
Yeah, that is see the Apple answer to the Dropbox. See, the Dropbox is platform independent, whereas the iCloud is platform dependent. That means it will work only within the context of Apple devices. Another interesting application in this area is iCloud. iCloud is a cloud-based document sharing application provided by Apple to synchronize iOS-based devices. So it can be accessed only through iOS-based devices in a completely transparent manner. Say if you are using iCloud, so that is applicable only within the context of iOS-based devices, and that is if you ask me what is the context of Dropbox, so there is no limit for Dropbox. So irrespective of the type of device, irrespective of the type of platform that you are using, you can always use Dropbox. But if you ask me what is the context of iCloud, it is applicable within the context of iOS based devices to store any type of files, let it be audio files, images, document files, or any files. By using any of the iOS based device, you can access them. So, and that is completely transparent. So you can store documents, photos, and videos, and those things will be automatically synced and uploaded to the cloud. This allows to efficiently automate common operations without any human intervention. Taking a picture with an iPhone and having it in automatically available in iPhoto. iPhoto is the application to view for images on your Macintosh system. Editing a document in the iMac at home and having the changes updated in the iPad. See, you can see here iPad, iMac, iPhone, iPod, all these are the products of Apple. That means whenever you use any of these devices, so that will get automatically synchronized. Unfortunately, this capability is limited only to the iOS devices. That is the major drawback. And currently, there are no plans to provide iCloud with a web-based interface. That means it is not going to, Apple is not going to provide web-based interface in the coming days, in the near term. So that is one of the drawbacks of iCloud. So it is limited only to the Apple users. So Dropbox scenario. See, here is a Dropbox cloud. It is hosted on some platform like maybe AWS, Google App Engine, or something like that. And here you can see here Dropbox folder. It is just like a folder. You can dump whatever the data that you want to store in the form of files and folders. And you can see here someone is accessing, and here someone is accessing, and everything is viewed as a Dropbox folder. Whatever you store, that will be viewed as a Dropbox folder. Now let us assume. So here you have installed one Dropbox client, and here mobile phone, and this is your office system. And if you do any changes to a particular file by using your office system, that will get synchronized both in your mobile phone as well as in the cloud data center. Similarly, if you open a document and if you do some changes, okay, let us assume now your mobile is not connected to internet. You have switched on the data pack. Sorry, you have switched off the data pack. Okay, now you will take your mobile, you will switch off the data pack, and you will open a document which is there in the Dropbox client. Using the Dropbox client, you will open a file and you will do some modifications to one particular document. Then after that, let us assume after some time you will switch on the data pack. The moment you switch on the data pack, this will get synchronized with a remote server. So this is a remote server. Then in turn, it will intimate all other instances in which you have stored the file. See, here you have stored one instance of your file. So now this will get synchronized with the contents of what is available here. Students, you will get one question like, say for example, explain the scientific applications of cloud computing, or explain the healthcare applications of or healthcare use cases of cloud computing, or explain, say like they'll target any particular domain like gaming industry or IT infrastructure or software as a service or something like that. So you should be able to write the examples and some related diagram like this. You need to write some diagram like this. So that you need to be careful how you are going to represent this using a diagram. So just here you can write one square box and you can write Dropbox folder. Similarly here also, okay, you can write, okay, Dropbox client, and here also you can write one Dropbox client, okay, and you can represent it. Next is Google Docs. It's a software as a service. So I will not tell anything about Google Docs because already we are using it and we know. So pin to pin about Google Docs. It is a software as a service. Using that, you can open any type of the document, let it be PDF, then Excel file, Word file, or any even the presentation or drawings, images, anything. Then social networking examples, Facebook, Twitter, that you can give as examples, and media applications, YouTube, you can take that as an example, or Animoto, and Maya, it's a tool for creating graphics. Then gaming applications, multiplayer online gaming. So I think I know you can write PUBG, multiplayer online gaming applications. Take some of the examples. I think you are good at it. So I'll go to the very next topic. That is economics of cloud. Okay, today's next topic is economics of cloud. So before talking about the economics, let us see what are the major drivers of cloud computing. The main drivers of cloud computing are economy of scale and simplicity of software delivery and its operation. So actually, what is driving cloud computing? What is the driving force behind the cloud computing is economy of scale. That means you are saving a lot of money. Okay, so as an organization, say let us assume you are first you are only maintaining your own services. Let us assume now you are moving to cloud computing. So then, if this is a scenario, then it saves a lot of money for the organization. Especially, you need not worry about the maintenance and upgradation of the infrastructure. Since you are not worrying about upgradation and maintenance of the infrastructure, so you'll be saving a lot of money. So that is one driving factor, and the simplicity of software delivery. So how it is easy to deliver the software? Since you are relying on cloud computing, you need not worry about buying the full-fledged software licenses. Then deployment related infrastructure, that also you need not buy. So that helps in automation. And there are so many automation tools available on online. So therefore it helps in deployment. Operations means always deployment. How fast after the once the software is ready, how fast you can deploy by building an automation pipeline. See, when the build is uploaded, automatically it will be deployed. Like that, you can create a process which we call as automation pipeline. Such an automation pipeline can be created very easily using cloud computing tools. The biggest benefits of this phenomenon is financial, that is, pay as you go model offered by cloud providers. So as you will be paid for only whatever the resources that you consume, and always you can say, for example, today you are buying some 3 virtual machines. Today it is needed, and tomorrow you need only one. That is fine. You can cancel 2 instances. So that means you will be charged for only what you consume. In particular, cloud allows reducing the capital costs associated with IT infrastructure. See, capital investment means, so before you start working, okay, you have to set up the infrastructure. So networking related infrastructure, storage related infrastructure, and the servers to host the applications. So all those things comes under IT infrastructure, isn't it? Such things can be minimized to greater extent if you go with cloud computing. Then eliminating the lifetime costs and depreciation. Say once you purchase any infrastructure, every year there will be something called as depreciation. Say you have for example, you have bought some 3 IBM dedicated servers, each costing 5 lakh rupees. See, for every hardware component each year, so the depreciation percentage is 10 to 15% depreciation. Each component sees 10 to 15% depreciation. So the first year its value is say 5 lakh rupees. Second year 15% means 15 into 5 75. That means 75%, sorry, 15% depreciation it is seeing. That means in the second year the value of that component is 4,25,000. Like that every year it sees depreciation. So when you go for cloud you need not worry about such lifetime costs and depreciation. Then replacing software licensing with subscriptions. See, instead of paying lakhs together for a single software, you can go with subscriptions. So if you want for few months, then you go with monthly subscription. So for how many months continuously you want, you subscribe for those many months, then you can stop. So that's the advantage. Then cutting the maintenance and administrative costs of IT resources. So this is very, very important. So actually this is a recurring cost, cutting the maintenance and administrative costs. So we need a lot of few administrators who will administer and maintain the infrastructure that you have. So that can be greatly reduced. The IT infrastructure and software are capital assets to a company as they require these to continue the business. So if you want to continue the business, you need to keep updating the IT infrastructure and the softwares. IT infra and software procurement applies not only to the IT companies, as it is important to maintain data and to automate few activities irrespective of the type of company. See, let it be a school, college, let it be a garments company or a pharmacy company, irrespective of the type of company, always you need to maintain data and you need to protect that data, isn't it? And you will be using so many tools, so many software tools, irrespective of the type of company. So if you go to a medical shop, they will be using a software to check the availability of various medicines and their and to place the procurement orders and so on. And if you go to a cloth shop, there also they'll be using billing software and so many other softwares, isn't it? Similarly, you go to any business, always there are suitable softwares available and they can use it. And it is also very important to maintain the data. So, and it doesn't mean that only IT people will be using or will be storing the data. So irrespective of the type of the company, every company has to store their data. So before using the cloud services, large and medium sized companies used to spend huge amount on building data centers and software and maintenance staff and to pay for the maintenance staff. Now such costs can be reduced to a greater extent by moving their applications to cloud. And when it comes to pricing models, there are 3 main pricing models. So the very first pricing model is called tiered pricing model. In case of tiered pricing model, the services are provided in several tiers, each one providing a fixed computing specification and SLA. Friends, when you observe Amazon EC2, when I demonstrated Amazon EC2, there it was quoting, like say for example, Microsoft Server 2013 and 8 GB RAM, okay, and 40 GB storage, so that is free. Okay, say for example, same operating system, 80 GB storage and 16 GB RAM. Okay, for that you may have to pay some fixed amount of price. That means based upon the resource combination, the prices will be fixed for certain instances. So that is an example for tiered pricing model, and a very good example for that is Amazon EC2 instances. Amazon EC2 is just like it provides virtual machine services. To provide virtual machine services, we have Amazon EC2, which is an ideal example for tiered pricing model, that is fixed computing specification and SLA at specific price per unit. It will charge specific price for each of the virtual machine instance. Then Second one is per unit pricing. Here, the cloud revenue is determined in terms of units of specific customizable services, such as data transfer and memory allocation. Say, for example, for every 1 GB transfer of data, this much is the price. Okay, and to provide, say, for example, every 100 to provide every 10 GB of space, this much is the price. So that becomes an example for per unit pricing, and example for that is GoGrid. GoGrid uses to charge RAM usage per hour. So if you use this much RAM per 1 hour, this much you have to pay. So that is a pricing model by GoGrid. So GoGrid is a cloud service provider, and they provide RAM facilities, and they charge per hour. And subscription based pricing. This model is mostly used to avail software as a service, subscription based pricing. So you can take it weekly subscription, monthly subscription, and so on. So example for that is Amazon. Let it be Amazon, and both Amazon and Azure. They provide so many softwares which you can use hourly basis, weekly basis, monthly basis, and so on. So remember, this is very important. Tiered pricing models, per unit pricing models, and subscription based pricing models. These three are very important. So mostly you will get one question in the main exam. One question will be there on this. Open challenges already we have discussed. See, there is no single definition which you can tell this is the exact definition of cloud. I can say cloud is a platform which provides SaaS, PaaS, and IaaS services. Okay, and somebody else can tell another definition. So cloud is a overlay network which is built upon internet, and that provides computing services, networking services, and storage services. Okay, and somebody can tell it's a collection of web services. Okay, that is also correct. So there is no single definition which will claim this is the only definition of cloud computing. There is nothing like that. So that is the open challenge. So cloud definition. Cloud has several definitions, all of which aimed at providing three types of services: SaaS, PaaS, and IaaS. Then cloud interoperability and standards. So just like for web, how we have W3C, for cloud computing we don't have any such standards which will tell. So this is how we need to develop the applications so that it provides interoperability like that. Cloud follows service-based model. To realize this goal, cloud has to address a lot of interoperable issues in terms of supporting APIs developed by various vendors. Vendor lock-in makes it very difficult to switch to another vendor for the same service. Cloud provides standards to overcome this risk. Example, CCIF, Cloud Computing Interoperability Forum, Open Cloud Manifesto. So now these are the new forums which have just emerged, and still they are working on these issues. So still they are working on how to provide interoperability so that customer can change vendors to avail the same service. See, now the problem what is happening is, say for example, one of the say OpenStack. Yes, let us assume. So one of the organization is using OpenStack. So you know, right, when we use OpenStack, we have to use MongoDB, isn't it? So then to avail storage services, they are using OpenStack. Now let us assume at some point of time, they feel that OpenStack is charging more. Now they want to migrate, okay, to some other cloud. Then if that is the case, so there arises lot of issues. Okay, there arises a lot of issues in porting that data to some other cloud. Okay, now take another scenario. Say for example, you have unstructured data which you have stored in Google file system, So let us assume you're running an organization and you have a lot of unstructured data that you have stored in Google file system. Then now you want to migrate to OpenStack. So OpenStack doesn't support for unstructured data. So that is the portability issue. So to overcome those issues, now there are forums like CCIF and Open Cloud Manifesto. Okay, now they are working on those things. So to address these standards and interoperability issues. Next is scalability and fault tolerance. Cloud has the self-organizing property while providing on-demand scalable services, and applications that are currently running can be migrated between servers and even storage without downtime. Okay, without downtime, it is possible to migrate the application between the servers and even storage without downtime. Then security, trust and policy, it is always the biggest challenge. So we know that cloud provides security. Yes, it provides, but it is hard to believe that it is 100% secure. Because when the security is provided by a third party company always, so it's very difficult to trust what kind of encryption technologies they are using and to what extent they are providing the security for my application. So that's always a challenge. To assess them, it's always a challenge. The massive use of virtualization technologies exposes the existing system to new threats, which previously were not considered applicable. See, when you increase the amount of virtualization, so the security always is a threat. Always there are threats for security. Then organizational aspects. And here the issues to be considered are, what is the new role of IT department in an enterprise that completely or significantly relies on cloud? See, the role of usually the IT department is to see that all the software, whatever the software that is being used within the industry in your organization are completely licensed or either open source softwares. Then time to time they need to check that so the licenses are renewed, and at the same time it should also take care of the infrastructure. So they should take care that their IT infrastructure is being used very much efficiently, and time to time the upgradations are happening to cater the needs and also to see that business is running continuously. Then how will the compliance department perform its activity when there is a considerable lack of control over application workflows? How will the compliance department perform its activity when there is a considerable lack of control over application workflows? See, when I say workflow, lot of applications will be linked together to achieve communication between various teams. So when you are moving to cloud, okay, so many applications are cloud-based applications. So how this then how to deal with compliance? Then how you will track the workflow? Okay, that's one thing. See, if all the applications are maintained by like in-house, then you get all the logs and it becomes easy for you to track the workflow. So if it is cloud application, so that becomes a little bit difficult, but still you can track there also. There also you can get log information. Then what are the implications, political and legal implications for organizations that lose control over some aspects of their services? So these are some of the organizational aspects. So how to deal with political and legal. Okay, so legal aspects. Okay, example for legal aspects right now, you all know that. So Twitter, Facebook, and all the social media portals are facing some issues. So and they're facing some political and legal issues. So they have to comply with some of the guidelines given by the government of India. So just right now that's the hot topic in the net. Then what will be the perception of the end users of such services? See, now you have stored a lot of information in the cloud. So what if suddenly if government of India is blocking Facebook. So as a user, you will be thinking about your data, isn't it? How to retrieve my data, whether I will be able to download that all my information or not. Okay, so that's one of the organizational aspect. That's it, students. Now we are done with complete syllabus of cloud computing, except one small concept, that is Google App Engine. I think immediately after the test, I'll take one class. In that class, I'll finish off Google App Engine. If I finish Google App Engine, so that will be the end. So we need only one class to finish our syllabus for Google App Engine. See, we have three major cloud service providers, that is AWS, Azure, and Google App Engine. So we are done with Azure, we are done with AWS. Now only pending is Google App Engine, that we will see in another class. And with respect to study materials, everything I have sent, and at the same time have shown you in what is that, in internet all the author PPTs are available in slideshare.com. All the author PPTs are available, so that also you can download. And also I have given the URL. In one of the class, I have asked you to take the screenshot of that URL. From there you can get all the PPT, and even I have sent all the material, whatever I have. You can start reading. 1 minute, I'll take the attendance. Asta Bachawat.
Present, sir.
Abhinav.
Present, sir.
Aishwarya.
Present, sir.
Arbaz Khan.
Present, sir.
Arjun.
Present, sir.
Bhargavi.
Present, sir.
Deb Malia. Deb Malia. Deepika.
Present, sir.
Gangubai.
Present, sir.
Guria Kumari.
Present, sir.
Junjar Singh. Junjar Singh. Kavya.
Present, sir.
Lata.
Yes, sir.
Manisha.
Present, sir.
Pavitra.
Present, sir.
Maithili.
Present, sir.
Priyanka.
Present, sir.
Pawan Kumar.
Present, sir.
Akash.
Present, sir.
Rakesh.
Present, sir.
Ravi Shankar.
Yes, sir.
Rizwan.
Present, sir.
Vishal.
Present, sir.
Savita.
Yes, sir.
Shruti.
Present, sir.
Sneha.
Yes, sir.
Spurti.
Present, sir.
Srinidhi.
Present, sir.
Vaishnavi.
Present, sir.
Vinny.
Present, sir.
Junjar Singh. Okay, he's the only absent. That's all, students. All the best for your internal test. Dates are already announced. Just 5 minutes before the test, I'll upload this one question paper, and I'll send you the invite before that. So if you do not get the invite, you know, right, what you should do? I'll post the code to join the Google Classroom. That I'll post in the 4th Sem WhatsApp group. You should check that and you should join the class. In case if you do not get the email, be in touch. Thank you.